Part 55. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 541. Xianxia squatted down, pressed the sun pattern with her fingers, and with a slight push, the sun moved. After being pushed into Yuya's arms by Xianxia, it turned into a big sundae. It was so perfect that you wouldn't have noticed it if you hadn't seen it with your own eyes. Its two things rolled into one. After merging into a sun, the lid of the box opened with a snap. Xianxia looked at the opened box. There was a smaller box inside. She raised her eyes and glanced at the man. The meaning was obvious. Are you kidding me? I'm still playing with the box set here. The man noticed her gaze and immediately explained, it's this thing that has been guarded by our ancestors for more than 3,000 years. We can only open the outer box, and we can only look at the inner box like this, and we can't touch it. We'll be immediately bounced away by a force. Xianxia looked away and looked at the box inside. The man said that they couldn't even touch it, so how could they open it? Xianxia thought about her luck. She seemed to have a special destiny with many treasures. For an outsider to get something that her family had guarded for generations, did it mean that she was destined to it? Since you are destined, let's try it and see if it can be opened. Thinking of this, she slowly ran toward the box and stretched out her hand. The man looked at her hand nervously. Just when the man thought that her hand would be bounced away by the power of the box like theirs, Xianxia touched the box, and then the other hand also reached over and took out the box with both hands. The man looked at the box she held in both hands in shock. You can actually take out the box? Could it be that what our ancestors have guarded for generations is the girl's chance? An indescribable feeling came to the man's heart. He didn't know why his ancestors had guarded this thing for generations. Just because this girl will come and get it one day? Xianxia ignored him and looked at the box to see how to open it. She saw that the box had no lock at all. She reached out to lift the lid and opened the box easily. This time the man was sure that this thing was indeed an opportunity for the girl in front of him who had the power to control the soul. No wonder he was attracted to her before and followed her. Xianxia was stunned for a moment when she saw what was inside, but the man was extremely curious and muttered, "What is this? Why can't I feel any spiritual energy? Isn't it said that it is of great help to people's cultivation? Could it be that the ancestors been cheated?" Just because the man couldn't sense it didn't mean that Xianxia couldn't sense it. Inside the box was a black shape, an irregular stone-like thing, quite small, as big as a large soup bowl. The man couldn't sense any spiritual energy on it, because there was indeed no spiritual energy on it, but his ancestors were not deceived, because what this thing possessed was not spiritual energy, but spiritual power, lots and lots of spiritual power. Xianxia was stunned for a moment because mental power exists in the sea of consciousness of living creatures. She was surprised to see it suddenly here. Human monks can practice to distinguish good or bad talents, mainly depending on whether your sea of consciousness is strong enough and whether the spiritual power in it is sufficient. The same goes for spiritual beasts. As long as cultivators and beasts are the same, they both need to have a strong sea of consciousness, so that their cultivation talents will be strong. Under normal circumstances, mental power can only exist in the sea of consciousness of living creatures. Why does this stone-like thing contain a lot of mental power? Xianxia did not move the stone rashly, but covered the box inside again, put it into the big box, covered the big box again, and pushed the sun back to its original position, so that the box it returned to its original appearance. Seeing this, the man thought that Xianxia was not interested in this thing, and explained anxiously, "Our ancestors have indeed said from generation to generation that this thing is helpful for people to practice, but no one has ever opened it, so they don't know how to help people practice. But as long as being destined to this thing will change your cultivation talent, and it will be easy to become the strongest person in the continent." "Girl, I'm not lying to you. Since you can open the box inside, it means you are destined. This thing is your chance, you. Think about it again and give it a try. Yan Xiangloo knew that the man had misunderstood her, so she waved the box with her slender white hand and disappeared from the man's eyes. What message do you want to send to your son? Yan Xiangloo asked. The man suddenly turned from anxious to surprised, knowing that Yan Xiangloo had agreed to his conditions. He immediately said, I will tell you the process of being killed, and you can tell my son the truth. Yan Xiangloo frowned, are you sure this is okay? She felt that if she told her son like this, his son would throw up his sleeves and leave before the story was even finished, and he would definitely think that she was a lunatic. The man nodded and said, I will give you a token. If you give the token to my son first, he will believe what you say. Yan Xiangloo glanced at him and said, your mansion has been rented out so many times that I can't even count you. Are you sure you can still find a token to make your son believe in my words? The man's expression dimmed and he floated to the door, my token is on my body. Girl, just come with me. Yan Xiangloo was stunned, is your body in this yard? Yan Xiangloo was speechless. Although she had just become a celestial master, even if she wasn't a celestial master, she wouldn't have known there were corpses where she lived even if she wasn't a celestial master. The man said, it's not in the yard. My body is in the unused house behind the yard. Yan Xiang understood. After so many years, are you sure your body has not rotted? She didn't want to see a pile of rotten flesh and bones. If she was asked to rummage through a pile of rotten flesh and bones to find his token, she would refuse. Seeing her disgusted look, the man was speechless. I have a magic weapon in my body that no one knows about. It is usually used for cultivation, and it also has the effect of strengthening the body. It was only after I died that I found out that it also has the effect of making the corpse incorruptible. That's why I kept my body intact, just like when I first died. It's not scary at all. The girl is not even afraid of me as a ghost. It's just a corpse. How can the girl be scared? The man didn't understand. How could a monk who had reached his level of cultivation have never killed a living being, let alone monsters and spiritual beasts? There were also many people, so how could he still be afraid of a corpse? Then go and have a look. Yan Xiangloo ignored his look and had no intention of explaining it. She was not afraid, just disgusted. The man is a soul body, so naturally no one can see him, but as soon as Yan Xiangloo came out, the hidden guard responsible for safety in the dark discovered it. Seeing her jump over the wall and jump out of the house to the back of the yard, a hidden guard immediately followed her to guard her secretly. There were also hidden guards who immediately went to report Jija Kong. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 542. Chapter 542 Purifying the Soul. When Jija Kong learned that she had gone to an unused room behind the rented compound, he raised his eyebrows. He thought that she preferred to handle things independently now. Since she didn't call him, he shouldn't bother her, so he held back. The urge to get over immediately is enough, just ask the hidden guards to protect her secretly. If her life is not in danger, don't interfere with what she is doing. Yan Xiangloo followed the man to the house. It was a small courtyard with overgrown grass. It looked like no one had lived there for a long time. The man came to the well platform in the yard, pointed down and said, my body will stay here. Girl, go down and take off the storage ring from my hand. There is a sapphire ring in it. Girl, take this sapphire ring, go and see my son, he will believe your words when he sees this jade ring. Yan Xiangloo said with some confusion, he killed you but didn't take away your storage ring. The man smiled bitterly, this is his cleverness. What he wants is the position of the head of the family. If anything of mine appears in his hands, sooner or later things will be exposed. At that time, he looked at what I had in my hand. He gave up the ring after hesitating, but he took away the spiritual stones and crystal coins inside. There was no mark on these things. Even if he took them out openly and used them, no one would know they were mine. He didn't move anything, including the sapphire finger that symbolizes the position of the head of the family. Only then did Yan Xianglou realize that the sapphire finger ring was actually a symbol of the status of the head of their family. How did he become the head of the family without the sapphire finger? Yan Xianglou asked curiously. The man glanced at Yu Xianglou and felt that this girl looked shrewd and sometimes very simple. I, the head of the family, have disappeared. Of course, I can't get the sapphire finger back. But the position of the head of the family cannot be idle for too long. Of course, there needs to be an acting family head, and after a while, he will become the real family head. As for the family head's token, just get another one. Yan Xianglou curled her lips and said, the so-called family head's token is a joke. The man said firmly, it's not a joke. As long as my son holds the household head's token, he will have to give it to my son no matter how many years he has been the household head. Yan Xianglou sneered at his words. After being the head of the family for so many years, he has replaced everyone in the family with his own. Even if your son wants to become the head of the family with the head of the family's token, it is unlikely that he will become the head of the family. On the contrary, if your son is smart, he will never take out this token, except after revenge. She didn't say these words. It was a family matter and she would not interfere. She only needed to get the sapphire ring and tell his son about the man's murder, and the deal between them would be over. But she really didn't want to go down, so she said to Yun Tuan, who had been nestling on her neck, Yun Tuan, go get the storage ring from his body. Yun Tuan raised his little head and looked at the well platform. Although he didn't really want to go down, he couldn't let his master go down. He should serve his master as a caring spiritual pet. A white light flashed through the clouds and the figure disappeared. The man looked at the well platform in surprise, and then at Yan Xianglou. Her spiritual pet was so small, but it was so fast. The most important thing was that he didn't know what kind of spiritual pet it was. This little girl shows her extraordinariness in every aspect. The man was very knowledgeable and didn't ask. Just in the blink of an eye, the cloud came back, with a storage ring hanging on its little paw. Yan Xianglou threw a flame to burn away the death energy on the storage ring, and then took it. Because the owner has died, the contract has disappeared. Yan Xianglou poked her consciousness into it and found that there were still many things inside. Just as the man said, the spiritual stones and crystal coins inside were gone. She found the sapphire ring the man was talking about, took it out, and asked, is it this? The man nodded, that's it. Yan Xianglou put away the sapphire ring and asked, do you need me to give the storage ring to your son or put it on your corpse again? The man was very surprised. He thought that the gift ring had already been in her hands and that Yan Xianglou would keep it for himself, but he didn't expect that she had no intention of asking for it at all. You must know that although there are no spiritual stones and crystal coins in his storage ring, there are still many treasures in it. After all, he was once the head of the family. This little girl actually has no intention of being greedy for money at all. For a person with such a character, it is no wonder that she has such strong cultivation and abilities at a young age. At this moment, he suddenly realized that the reason why he was no longer diligent in his cultivation was because his ideological realm was not pure enough. Give it to the girl. Although the man was surprised by Yan Xianglou's open-mindedness, he was still prepared to give her the gift ring, which was also his original plan. Yan Xianglou shook her head. A gentleman loves money in a proper way. I have a lot of skills in making money. All we need is that stone for the transaction between you and me. I don't want the gift ring or the things inside it. Otherwise put it back or give it to your relatives. You can choose one yourself. The man sighed, the only person I have ever seen is someone with such a character as the girl. Although I am only a soul now, Being able to see someone with a pure soul like the girl makes my soul full of resentment. I felt relieved instantly. The girl not only fulfilled my wish, but also saved my soul. Unfortunately, I can no longer repay the girl's kindness. After saying this, he gave a big gift to Yan Xiangluo. Yan Xiangluo was actually surprised when he discovered the changes that occurred in his soul and body in that instant. When I saw the man's soul body before, his soul body was gray and dark gray. Now the soul body is almost transparent. It became clear to Yan Xiang that the color of the soul body also represents the good and evil of the soul body. Because he is not greedy for money, this small act can purify the man's soul and body. This benefit is obvious. Yan Xiangluo also realized another skill of the heavenly master in an instant. What happened after the man was about to go to the underworld appeared in front of her eyes. If his soul body was dark gray before, he could not be reincarnated normally, but had to enter hell. After entering there, he would need a lot of merit and blessings to come out again, and where would he go to do merit while he was there? What a blessing! If the descendants of the family have no one to do this for them, it will be almost impossible for them to get out of hell. But now, because of his influence on him, his soul is completely clean, and naturally he no longer needs to go to hell. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 543. Yan Xiangluo suddenly understood that maybe she could become a high-ranking, respected and powerful heavenly master in her previous life precisely because she had a pure and clean soul, which could not only change the fate of people, but also the fate of souls. In other words, if you want to reach a very high position among the celestial masters, in ordinary people's terms, this person must be a pure and good person. Are you yourself? Yan Xiangluo doubted whether she could reach the height of her previous life along the way with Xianxia. After all, she felt that her soul in this life, no matter which world she lived in, was selfish for the sake of survival. The man stood up after saluting. Girl, please put this storage ring back on my finger. If my son is still alive and avenges me, he will definitely come here, and this thing will still be his by then. If he is gone, everything is meaningless, just leave it here. If someone is destined to find my body in the future, he can bury my body properly. The things in this storage ring can also be regarded as my repayment of his kindness in burying me. Yan Xiangluo felt that the man was a very transparent person. The reason why he was tricked by his brother was because he had a kind heart and had never been wary of his relatives. This is fine, cause and effect will pay off, and he is right to do this. Although he can bury his body, if his son is still alive, he must come to bury him personally, and once he leaves, he will not be buried. I will come back specifically to bury him. Since he has made all the arrangements, I won't bother myself. Yan Xiangluo asked Yun Tuan to put the gift ring back on the corpse's hand, and then took the man back to her yard without entering the room. She sat down at the stone table in the yard and said, "Tell me about your murder, please be as detailed as possible so that your son can find clues when he wants to take revenge on you." The man nodded, stood aside and began to describe his experience of being murdered in detail. The hidden guards who had been following Yu Xiangluo were confused. Who was she talking to? I feel a chill on my back. After Ji Zhozhong received the news, she understood and knew that she had met a soul body. Since she was willing to communicate with the soul body, it meant that the other party had no ill intentions towards her. On the contrary, it was because of her ability that she could help him. I just don't know how she can help the other person. Ji Zhozhong knows very well that Luoluo's heart is kind. Even though she always wraps herself up very tightly, the most vulnerable thing about her is the kindness in her heart. However, Luoluo is different now from before. She is very defensive now, so she should be fine. Ji Kong is no longer worried. The man told in detail how he was plotted and killed by his brother. No matter how detailed it was, it took him only a quarter of an hour to finish. Yan Xianglou nodded, "I've written it down, don't worry, I have a photographic memory and will tell your son word for word. Do you have anything else to say to your son?" The man's eyes became brighter at this time. "Tell him, if his second uncle is a good family head, don't avenge me, let him leave the family and live the life he wants. I used the family to restrain him before, and from now on he can live the life he wants, as long as he is happy and safe, and I don't have any resentment at this time." Yan Xianglou was a little surprised. After purifying his soul, he was able to let go of his hatred. "You must know that he was killed by his own brother." Yan Xianglou raised her eyes and looked at the man, and a scene suddenly appeared in front of her eyes, a dark room with a gloomy decoration. If you look closely, it was a soul-suppressing formation, and the suppressed soul was the man in front of her. When the man said that he had no resentment, the formation collapsed, and the man was repelled. He vomited a large mouthful of blood and fell to the ground, looking at the destroyed Xuanhuan in horror. Only then did Yan Xianglou realize that the reason why the man's soul turned dark gray was not only because he had resentment in his heart, but also because someone was suppressing his soul. Yan Xianglou did not hide anything from the man. "It's a good thing that you let go of your resentment. Your previous soul body was suppressed. All your emotions not only come from the hatred in your heart, but mainly the suppressed resentment. Although you don't know it, the moment you let go of the resentment in your heart, the formation that suppressed your soul collapsed, and the other party was severely injured, and his cultivation level will regress a lot." The man was stunned when he heard this and sighed. Yan Xianglou saw that the man's soul did not change color again because of her words, and knew that the man had really thought about it, and there was really no resentment in her heart. But she didn't feel that it was all her fault. Although her power of controlling souls was indeed very strong, the main reason was that the man himself was a kind and responsible person during his lifetime. Otherwise, the soul and body could be purified so easily, and there would be no in the underworld. "Since I have this fate with him, let's give him another chance. Although the man's soul has been purified by her and can avoid going to and suffering, he can only be reborn immediately. If he wants to be reincarnated, he still has less luck. Since you have fulfilled your wish, do you want to report to the underworld immediately?" Yan Xianglou asked. The man nodded, "Let's go now. No evil spirits came to see me after I died. I thought it was because of the resentment in my heart. Now I know that it was because my soul was suppressed. I have already sensed that evil spirits are coming. Excuse me. Please give me your surname, at least let me know who your benefactor is. The fragrance is generous, my surname is, the female characters are next to the clouds, the famous incense, the fragrance of the floral fragrance, the falling." This was the first time that Yan Xianglou introduced her name to a person, no, to a spirit body so seriously. In the past, she always said her name directly, and the other person could only use the few words they wanted. But today, she wanted the man to know her real name, word for word. The man saluted again, "Thank you so much for your benefactor." Yan Xianglou said, "You and I also have this fate. I will give you another good fortune, so that you can be reborn in a good family in the next life. Just like the life you want for your son, you can freely choose your own life." The man was surprised and thanked him again, "Thank you so much for my benefactor." Yu Xianglou raised her hand, and the power of soul control wrapped around the man. After a moment, she withdrew the power of soul control, and the man suddenly felt that his soul was so light that it seemed like it was about to float away. At this time, his soul was really floating. He knew that he was leaving, so he quickly said, "Master Yu, thank you very much. If we are destined to meet again in the next life, I will definitely repay the kindness of Master Yu." The man knows that the promises he makes in front of the Heavenly Master will really come true in the next life. The fragrance falls ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 544. Although he no longer knows Xianxia after his reincarnation, he has formed a good relationship with her at this time. They will really meet again in the next life, and it will still be a good relationship, and the wish he made will definitely come true. Now Xianxia has a deeper understanding of causes and conditions. The past life caused the current life effect. Maybe they had a cause in the previous life, so they have such a fate in this life. Xianxia smiled and waved to him, and the man's soul disappeared into the night sky. Xianxia stood up and looked at the empty night sky, feeling something she had never felt before. She clearly felt that there was a kind of power in her body. This power came from the man's soul that she purified, which was also called the power of faith. In the past, she always thought that the power of faith came from the faith of living people, but now she understood that the power of faith not only came from the admiration of people in the world, but also from the sincere gratitude and admiration of the soul body. Although the soul body does not have a body, their spiritual consciousness is there. With spiritual consciousness, they have consciousness and naturally have thoughts. Because of their specialness, the power of faith is more pious and greater than that of people with bodies. At this moment, Xianxia understood why the Heavenly Master wanted to have a pure soul. Without a pure soul, it would be impossible to sincerely help people and souls. Xianxia's heart was a little heavy, and she felt as if she had a long way to go on the road to becoming a Heavenly Master. At this time, she already admired herself in the previous life. How did she become a Heavenly Master that the world looked up to? Xuanhuan got the news that after waving to the night sky, she stood in the yard and stared at the night sky in a daze, and hurried over. Sure enough, I saw her raising her head and looking at the night sky with a somewhat wandering gaze. It looked like she was looking at the night sky. In fact, her thoughts were dominant. She must be thinking about something, and she was too absorbed in her thoughts. The temperament of Xianxia at this time was very similar to her in the previous life when he recovered his memory. Although he recovered some memories of his previous life, he did not have any information about their appearance in the previous life. Because of this, what he remembered was her temperament. Xuanhuan walked over slowly. Xianxia noticed his aura, came back to his senses, and looked back at him. Did Luoluo encounter anything troublesome? Xuanhuan asked in a gentle voice. Xianxia shook his head. It's not really annoying, but I understand something. I just helped a soul body and gained the power of his faith, which made me feel a little emotional. I don't want to continue on the path of Tianqi. It's such an easy thing, but it's even more difficult to become a Heavenly Master like that in my previous life. Xuanhuan frowned, but she didn't expect that she would be reminded of her previous life by helping a soul body, and it would also affect her confidence in the profession of Celestial Master. Xuanhuan thought for a while and said, although I don't have complete memories of my past life, from the memories I have recovered, I can also infer that the Celestial Master in Luoluo's past life was indeed very powerful, and you are getting closer and closer to you now than you were in the past life. This also shows that you already have the potential and qualifications to become a powerful Heavenly Master. Don't let external factors dominate your thoughts, just be yourself seriously. Xianxia smiled when he heard this. Don't worry, I think openly. Although I have doubts in my heart, I will not deny who I am now. There is no need to compare myself with myself in the previous life. Although this life may have the mission of the previous life, but now that I have been reborn, I am independent in this life. No matter what the future holds, I will be true to myself. But because of some things, my mood has changed and I have to think about it before I can continue on the next path. Xuanhuan's phoenix eyes flashed with doubts. She didn't look so indifferent before. She was obviously disturbed by some kind of emotion. Seeing his expression, Yan Xianglou knew that he didn't believe what she said, so she didn't explain any more. Although she did have a lot of doubts in her heart, she was really thinking about it and comparing it, just to make this life better. Better yourself. She shrugged and said, after the continental competition, I have one more thing to do. Seeing that she had changed the subject, Zhizhong changed the topic wisely, it has something to do with the soul body you just met. Well, it's a deal. I just need to help him send a message to his son. Yan Xianglou didn't go into details, but she didn't hide it from him either. Jiju nodded and said, hide your identity when you go. Since it was a transaction, there must be something in exchange with her. Since she didn't say anything, I didn't ask any more questions. Zhizhong felt helpless. The relationship between the two was different after all. I don't know when this relationship will ease. Yan Xianglou nodded, I think so too. She didn't know the character of the man's son, but she didn't want to mess with her just because of a few words. Seeing that she was fine, Zhizhong didn't stay too long and went back to the front yard. After all, the game was about to come, and he also needed to stabilize his mood. Yan Xianglou returned to the room and no longer thought about anything else. She carefully summarized what she had learned today about the power of soul control. Instead of continuing to learn the power of soul control, she put the magic absorbing beads into the space. Let's study it. I heard Zhizhong say that she was inspired to use the magic absorbing beads before, and that she could use the magic absorbing beads. If she did not use the magic absorbing beads directly, but first inhaled the demonic energy into her body, and then used the magic absorbing beads to absorb herself. Is it okay to absorb all the demonic energy in the body? But it is not a trivial matter for the demonic energy to enter the body. She does not dare to try it easily. Master is an example. Even if she has absorbed the magic beads, she does not dare to easily try to enter the demonic energy into the body. She has to think of a way to do it. Test. After thinking about absorbing magic beads for a while, Yan Xianglou studied the 9-story lotus platform for a while, and then looked at the glazed lamp in her previous life. Suddenly, she found that she had many treasures in her hands without knowing it. The consciousness exited the Pangu space, and Yan Xianglou lay on the bed, her thoughts wandering again. I have been thinking about recent events and changes in my thoughts, but I can't figure out the reason. She took a long breath. She was not someone who liked to struggle. Since she couldn't figure it out, she didn't want to think about it. Just as she told Zhizhong that she would not let what happened in her previous life affect her current self. No matter what, the main thing in her life was the goal will not change. Become a strong person and live a free life. This does not conflict with completing the things that were not completed in the previous life. Both require strong strength, and both require her to become an absolute strong person in this world. After thinking about this, her heart calmed down, she closed her eyes and fell asleep quickly. When I woke up it was already broad daylight. After getting up and freshening up, he asked Yun Tuan to call his little apprentice and prepare to take Chi Hao out for a walk on the street. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 545. If you want to practice the power of soul control, you mainly need to look at a person's luck at present, and looking at a person's luck is not just a matter of looking at the color of the luck. Yesterday, she saw the image prompt of the man's soul, so, she had to go to a crowded place, and Yaoguang City was suitable for her practice at this time. There are many different kinds of people, and there are also many people with different fortunes, which is suitable for her to practice the power of controlling souls. Chi Hao was very happy when he heard that his master was going to take him to play on the street. Yesterday, after master gave him the ruby flame leopard as an apology from the lord of Yaoguang City, he was so excited that he stayed up all night and kept communicating with the ruby flame leopard. The more he got to know the ruby flame leopard, the more he felt that master had given him the battle pet is perfect for him. The ruby flame leopard is different from the ordinary flame leopard. The color of the ordinary flame leopard's fur is not the color of flames. Although they both have fire power, ordinary flame leopards cannot compare with the ruby flame leopard in terms of talent and strength. He deeply remembered his master's kindness to him. Today, his master was taking him out to play again. The happiness of these 2 days had reached its limit. Yan Xiangloo noticed Chi Hao's emotions and didn't want him to go crazy, so she reminded him, "Master goes out to practice, and you go out to gain knowledge. There are many people of all kinds in the city now, and it is you who are learning to argue. It's a good opportunity to get to know people. Observe carefully and use your brain. When you go out to practice on your own in the future, these are all experiences and you won't be easily fooled." Chi Hao's excited heart suddenly calmed down. There was so much happiness in the past 2 days that he became a little forgetful. He nodded immediately, "Master, I understand." Master is telling him not to be arrogant or impetuous, to keep a cool head at all times, and to make rational decisions when encountering things. You should also learn anytime and anywhere. Not only practicing alchemy and medical skills is learning, but also gaining knowledge. Yan Xiangloo rubbed Chi Hao's head and said with a smile, "There is no need to be so nervous. Since we are out, we still have to eat, drink and play. These will not delay our knowledge and cultivation." Yan Xiangloo didn't want to turn his young apprentice into a cultivator. No matter how strong his cultivation was, he had to be able to live. Only such a person could be happy. She doesn't want to be one of those cold and heartless monks in this world. She wants his young disciple to happily follow his own path of cultivation. With this kind of cultivation path, as you get older and experience gains and losses, you won't experience any changes in your mood. Nor will he live a lonely and mechanical life like those older monks. Master and apprentice came to the front yard. Yan Xiangloo didn't see Jizhikong, nor Muxixian and Chang Feng, so he asked the hidden guard Jizhikong who was guarding in the dark. The hidden guard replied, "The master has gone out to do some business and will be back at noon." Yan Xiangloo raised his eyebrows. There was a competition the day after tomorrow. What else did he have to do? Although he was confused, he didn't ask any more questions. Jizhikong was not an ordinary person. He was always successful in doing things, so he said, "We went out for a walk and had lunch outside." Although these words were said to Yunwei understood the meaning and asked him to tell Jizhikong. The hidden guard said wisely, "I will tell the master when he comes back." Yan Xiangloo took Chi Hao out, and 2 of the hidden guards immediately followed him. They were the hidden guards arranged by Jizhikong to protect Yu Xiangloo. Yan Xiangloo noticed it and didn't say anything. After all, there are too many people coming to Yaoguang City now, and she estimates that as soon as she goes out, many people will recognize her from her clothes, and people with ulterior motives are not non-existent. After leaving the house and walking in the alley, I heard the lively sounds coming from the street. At this time, Bai Wuqian was receiving a guest in the city lord's mansion, and this guest, if Yan Xiangloo knew it, was Lu Yu, the late mainland young master who coveted her beauty. "City Lord Bai, what do you think of the deal I mentioned?" Lu Yu sat lazily on the chair, not restraining his temper because this was someone else's territory. And Bai Wuqian knew Lu Yu very well. After all, he didn't even want to understand the next masters of several continents. Although he is not from the mainland, he is still the young master of the mainland, and he must be respectful. It is said that the first place in this continental competition is likely to be Lu Yu's. Looking at his strength now, I can't see clearly, which means that his strength is at the peak of the 9th level of the holy level. He just needs an opportunity to break through to the level. The 2 people standing behind him are both powerful men above the level. Such people are all guards trained by the family through special means. This is only on the surface, and there is no telling how many people there are in private. Well, it shows that the lord of the old continent cares about Lu Yu. No wonder he has so many problems, and the lord of the continent in his late years still likes to value him so much, just because he has good talent. However, thinking of the deal he proposed, Xuanhuan said with his signature smile, "Young master should know that my daughter has offended the miracle Dr. Yu, and now it is in his hands whether or not she can regain her appearance. Although I am very fond of young master's deal. I'm tempted, but I can't agree. The miracle doctor promised to give me the antidote as soon as the competition is over, but I don't dare to do anything. I'm just a daughter and I don't dare to take risks. What I was thinking about was, am I a fool to get involved in your of women? If you are an ordinary woman, that's it. She is a miracle doctor. Miracle doctor, do you understand, who wants to offend anyone with a brain? He is not stupid, he has already given out so much as an apology, and now the deal with Lu Yu is not thrown away in vain. If it fails, Xiaojiao will really be disfigured. He didn't dare to take any chances. The most important point is that although the miracle doctor is ruthless, she is clear about grudges and open-minded, and is not a grudge-minded person. This can be seen from her attitude towards herself. You can rest assured when dealing with someone like this, she won't cheat on you behind your back. But Lu Yu, although extremely talented, is very self-righteous. What he wants to do must be accomplished. Just like in the case of Yu Xiongluo, he did not restrain himself because of her identity. On the contrary, he even became more too bad. Actually, he was a little worried. Although Yan Xiongluo had some tricks, he had no chance to use them in the face of absolute strength. He was worried that Yan Xiongluo would be taken down by Lu Yu before he got the antidote, so he told Lu Yu subtly that if you want to take action, you should do it after I get the antidote. Lu Yu raised his eyes and glanced lazily at Xuanhuan. This old cunning man really looked at his daughter as if she were an eyeball. He was not moved by the temptation of his own huge interests. It seems that he will not cooperate with me. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 546. Chapter 546 Meeting Lu Yu. It's okay, I'm sorry to bother you today. Lu Yu stood up and said politely. There was no hint of dissatisfaction in his tone, but Xuanhuan knew that the more such a person is, the more dangerous he is. It is clear that the goal has not been achieved, but still does not show any dissatisfaction. Such people are very scheming. Once offended, it is equivalent to finding a poisonous wolf as an opponent that can jump out and bite people at any time. Therefore, although Xuanhuan refused to cooperate with Lu Yu, he was very polite to Lu Yu and his etiquette was not bad at all. Bai stood up with a smile and personally escorted Lu Yu out. He said many polite words and waved Lu Yu's hand. Lu Yu's attitude was always lukewarm. After sending Lu Yu away, Xuanhuan immediately returned to the house without telling Ruan Xiongluo about Lu Yu. He did not want to provoke either Lu Yu or Yuan Xiongluo, so he did not favor anyone and remained neutral. He also told Lu Yu just now that he would not be able to get his daughter's antidote until after the competition. As long as Lu Yu didn't want to go against him, he would definitely not take action before then. He was also helping Yuxiang in disguise. The fall took some time. After all, Yan Xiongluo was not an ordinary person when he was able to come out of the Twilight Continent with his clan-level cultivation intact. Lu Yu is a popular candidate for first place in the competition. It is impossible for Yan Xiongluo not to know that Lu Yu is coming. Now that she knew Lu Yu was coming, she still dared to show up, which meant that she was not afraid of Lu Yu, or that she had a way to avoid Lu Yu's plot. Then it doesn't make much sense whether you tell her or not. As soon as Lu Yu left the city lord's palace, one of the two people following behind him said, "Young master, the other 3 young masters participating in the competition have also arrived today." This is to remind Lu Yu what is important. Lu Yu paused and narrowed his eyes. I know how to do it. Isn't it the first place in the continental competition? Everyone in the world thinks that he is a sure shot at winning the first place, but only he and his father know that he has been injured once and it will not be easy to win the first place this time. Not to mention that there are several opponents of equal strength to him, who can guarantee that there will be no geniuses with hidden abilities in this competition. Based on strength alone, he probably wouldn't be able to win first place, but when it comes to skill, he thinks he has yet to defeat anyone. For the first place, he is bound to win. As for the other 3 brothers sent by my father who want to compete with him for status, let's see who has better means. Not only does he want to win first place in this competition, but he also wants to take Yan Xianglou back. If he had only coveted Xianglou's beauty before, it was different now. He also coveted her medical skills. Originally, he thought she was just a woman who could interest him for a while, but now he has changed his mind. After all, Yan Xianglou has the title of a miracle doctor. Originally, if Bai Wuqian agreed to his conditions, he could take away Yan Xianglou quietly. However, Bai Wuqian obviously didn't want to offend Yan Xianglou. It was not easy or impossible for him to take Yan Xianglou away without alerting anyone. Lu Yu was walking on the street without thinking of going back to where he lived. At this moment, he saw a familiar red figure. His eyes suddenly narrowed. Master and apprentice Yan Xianglou and Qi Hao walked out of the alley where they lived, identified the direction, and walked to the right. On the left is the direction they came from yesterday, which is the direction of the city gate. They have already walked through it yesterday, and today they will continue to walk inside, stroll around, and see where the competition is held. Qi Hao was curious about everything he saw, but Yan Xianglou was more indifferent. After all, apart from the large number of people, Yaoguang City was not much different from other cities. If there was any difference, it was because there were so many spiritual beasts. Many women walking on the street are holding a cute spiritual pet. But as soon as Yan Xianglou turned to the right, she noticed a sharp gaze falling on her. There were quite a few people looking at her, but who knew that her consciousness was not so strong. A different line of sight was detected among the many lines of sight. The sight came from directly in front. She looked over calmly and was stunned for a moment. Lu Yu. It's really a narrow road for enemies. The person she least expected to see met as soon as she came out. Yan Xianglou looked away calmly, as if looking at the shops on both sides of the street and seeing Lu Yu by the way, without stopping at all. Talk to Qi Hao naturally and continue walking forward. If she changed her route and direction at this time, she would be suspected of deliberately avoiding it. She had never met Lu Yu face to face before, so it was normal not to recognize him. Lu Yu frowned, and Yan Xianglou glanced at him. He could still feel it, but he actually looked away without even looking at it, which surprised him. Lu Yu thinks that his appearance is impeccable, which is the main reason why he has so many women, prefers the new and hates the old, and no woman has a falling out with him. Not only because of his talent, money, and status, but also because of his face. Good looking. But Yan Xianglou remained unmoved at all. Among the women he fell in love with, Yan Xianglou was the most special one. Just when he was about to pass by, Lu Yu raised his hand and blocked Yan Xianglou's path. Yan Xianglou covered up the coldness in her eyes and avoided any contact with Lu Yu's leaking hand. She raised her eyes and looked at him and said displeasedly, "Why are you blocking my way, master?" Lu Yu looked at her so close for the first time. His eyes fell on her stunning face, and he said in a gentle tone, "How could you miss the chance to meet the miracle Dr. Yu?" Yan Xianglou took 2 steps back in disgust. There are many people who know me, and there are not many people who are as rude as young master. Although there are not many, meeting one in a day is not a happy thing. As soon as he finished speaking, Yan Xianglou would bypass him and continue walking forward. Lu Yu twitched the corner of his mouth. How could such a beautiful girl speak so viciously? She was putting herself in the same group as Bai Xiao, whom she met yesterday, and she was so bad. However, he was not angry at all, and the corners of his mouth were raised a little higher. The temperament of the miracle doctor is quite lovable, I like it. Lu Yu said the three words after are extremely ambiguous. The disgust on Yan Xiangluo's face became even worse. That's really my misfortune. Such a straightforward dislike made Lu Yu chuckle. It was the first time in his life that he was so disliked by someone, and it was by a woman. We haven't gotten along yet. Whether it's a blessing or a misfortune, the conclusion made by the miracle doctor is too early. Lu Yu was not angry at all, and his tone was still gentle. He is patient with beautiful women, especially women with good looks and character. Not interested. Yan Xiangluo walked forward directly this time and ignored Lu Yu. Lu Yu stretched out his hand again, but Yan Xiangluo dodged again. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 547. Yan Xiangluo's tone became a few degrees colder. Young master, please think carefully. People who know medical skills are very good at poisoning. My whole body is full of poison. No one in this world can cure the poison I inflict. Sir, do you want to try it? Lu Yu paused, knowing that Yan Xiangluo was not joking. No one saw how she poisoned her yesterday. Bai Jiao's face was just scratched by the palm-sized spiritual pet squatting on her shoulder, and her face was ruined. No doctor or alchemist can cure it. He was still a little worried about Yan Xiangluo's poison. He was going to participate in the competition, and there couldn't be any surprises before that. Lu Yu retracted his hand and still looked as gentle as a jade master. I am Lu Yu, the young master of mainland China in his late years. I would like to invite the miracle doctor to have a meal. Can the miracle doctor give me some face? He didn't believe it if he directly revealed his identity. If he searched for her all over the continent, she would not know his purpose. No. Yan Xiangluo replied quickly and neatly. Although Qi Hao on the side was speechless, he could see that the master hated the man in front of him, and he also felt that although this man smiled gently, the aura on his body made him dislike it. Master, I want to eat that. Qi Hao tugged on Yan Xiangluo's sleeve and pointed to a shop in front of him to buy food. Yan Xiangluo naturally understood what Qi Hao meant. She glanced at Qi Hao and said in an old mother's tone, okay, it smells really good. Qi Hao curled his crescent eyes and said, well, I'm so hungry. Yu Xiangluo ignored Lu Yu and walked towards the shop with Qi Hao. Lu Yu did not stop anyone. Although he liked beauty, he was not a brainless person. He was able to sit firmly in the position of the young master of mainland China in his late years, not because of his lust, but because of his super talent and bright minds. He knows when to do something. Before the big game, he can't do anything. My eyes narrowed, but I still had to be prepared. I was thinking to myself, this little girl has high medical skills and is also good at poisoning. She is really loved and feared at the same time. How to do it? Yan Xiangluo felt relieved when she saw that Lu Yu didn't bother her anymore. She would not be fooled by Lu Yu's appearance. Lu Yu's status today was not because he was a lustful person. He should be very smart and know better what he wanted and when he could do it. This is also the main reason why she dared to go shopping blatantly even though she knew Lu Yu would come to participate in the competition. Furthermore, she is not a helpless person. Although her cultivation level is not as high as that of Lu Yu, she has many methods. Lu Yu's methods are bound to be endless, but who made her an alchemist and a mysterious pattern master? She also has the title of Little Poison King in Tianqian continent. No matter how hard she tried, Lu Yu couldn't do anything to her. Although it was Qi Hao's excuse, he had to admit that the various snacks made in this shop were indeed delicious. There are not only ordinary delicacies, but also some spiritual food made from spiritual ingredients. Of course, Such food is extremely expensive and not everyone can afford it. Therefore, it is rarely made, and some even need to be made fresh. After all, the spiritual energy begins to be consumed once the spiritual energy food is made. If there is no special storage method, the spiritual energy will dissipate within an hour, and the food will be no different from ordinary food. Qi Hao's current cultivation level has not yet reached the level where he does not need to eat. When he reaches the king level, he will have a menstrual cleansing and marrow removal. After that, he should try not to eat ordinary food. However, before reaching the king level, it is naturally better to not eat ordinary food. Qi Hao was lucky enough to meet his master, Yan Xiangluo. After becoming his master, he almost never ate food with ordinary ingredients. However, Yan Xiangluo didn't restrain him today and let him eat whatever he liked. Eat the food you like and your happiness will be doubled. How could she stop her little apprentice from finding happiness in you? In her other life, she couldn't eat a lot of food due to physical reasons, but she would eat some secretly when she couldn't help it. The joy she felt was indescribable. After buying a lot of snacks for Qi Hao, the master and the apprentice came out of the shop. Yan Xiangluo didn't feel Lu Yu's breath and knew that he had left. But her heart did not relax. She sensed Lu Yu's obsession with her. Even if he would not take action before the competition, he would arrange for someone to monitor her. Once the competition was over, Lu Yu would definitely take action. She couldn't guess yet how he would do it. However, she didn't want to give Lu Yu this chance. Yuan Xiangluo didn't see it. Qin Sui hid in a shop door and looked at her with evil eyes. Although the two have never officially met, they know each other. Yan Xiangluo met Qin Sui when she was in the Tianshan Empire. After all, Qin Sui was the only woman who could enter and leave the regent's palace at will. Yan Xiangluo, Ji Zhikong's nominal fiancée, Qin Sui naturally visited her. Although her appearance was indeed beautiful, her cultivation was too weak, so she did not take her seriously at that time. Later, after Yan Xiangluo became a member of the Xianyuan sect, Ji Zhihong came into contact with her again. Qin Sui took action after sensing the threat, but she didn't expect to be backlashed. To say that Qin Sui hates Xianxia is worthy of the first person. She saw it when Lu Yu stopped Yan Xiangluo, but Lu Yu did not take him away by force. Qin Sui instinctively felt the sense of crisis again. She overheard that Lu Yu seemed to want to marry Xiangluo openly. This is not possible. She is not trying so hard to let Yan Xiangluo reach the sky in one step. She will never allow Yan Xiangluo to step on her head. Looking at the backs of Yan Xiangluo and Qi Hao, Qin Sui said to the man following her, "Did you see the little boy next to you? Catch him and bring him to me, and you will pay back what you owe me." The man glanced at Qi Hao and said, "It's not easy to catch him. His master is a miracle doctor. The implication is that he will offend the miraculous doctor, let alone him. There are almost no people in the world who want to offend the miraculous doctor, of course, except for those who have enmity with the miraculous doctor." Qin Sui curled her lips and said, "Even if she is a miracle doctor, her cultivation level is much worse than yours. Besides, do you have to arrest people when their master is around? You won't use your brain. My request is this one, it's up to you." There was a flash of displeasure in the man's eyes, but thinking of the favor he owed Qin Sui, he bit his lower lip and said, "Okay." After saying this, he walked forward and followed Yan Xiangluo and the others quietly. Qin Sui caught up with him and reminded him in a low voice, "I want to see someone before the competition." "I know," the man responded. Humbling on his lips, the man was extremely fed up with Qin Sui, but it was she who helped him when he was cornered. This favor must be repaid. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 548. Chapter 548. It's so obvious. If she didn't agree to her request, she would have to use her own body to pay it back. It was disgusting to think that she would not refuse any man, and I don't know how many men she had. He would rather offend the miracle doctor Yu Xianglou than have anything to do with her. After all, in his heart, although Yan Xianglou has the title of a miracle doctor, she is too young and her cultivation is not strong enough. It is true that Yan Xianglou is too young and is not easily taken seriously by others. If she were older and her cultivation was above the level, no one would dare to offend her easily. Yan Xianglou and Chi Hao, masters and apprentices, spent the whole morning shopping, and went to the competition venue to see the competition. The competition was going to be held here, and the shops selling spirit beasts on the street outside the competition venue were doing a lot of business. It is also the place with the most people. Although Chi Hao has his favorite war beast, the red jade flame leopard, he is still curious and enjoys going through various shops. However, when I come out of every store, I will be disgusted and say, what kind of war beast is incomparable to my Zhenchuo? Zhenchuo is the name Chi Hao gave to his war beast, the ruby flame leopard. Last night he was so excited that he didn't sleep the whole night. He came up with many names, but none of them were satisfactory. Finally, this one, Xianxia, finally thought it was okay. The word means strong and fierce fire. Chi Hao felt that his battle beast, the ruby flame leopard, was of the fire element and had extremely strong fighting power. This word suited it just right, so he chose the word for it. As a name. Yuan Xianglou watched in amusement as his little apprentice arrogantly praised his beast. I feel that giving him the ruby flame leopard yesterday was a very correct decision. Which restaurant do you want to eat for lunch? Yan Xianglou looked at the sky and saw that it was already noon. She could eat or not, but Chi Hao couldn't miss a meal when he was growing up. Along the way, they came across a restaurant and asked how the food tasted and what the level of the chef was. Yu Xianglou said, let Chi Hao choose, and he will eat whatever he wants. Chi Hao said enthusiastically, eat the one that cooks delicious fish. Which restaurant makes delicious fish? Yan Xianglou immediately remembered that house, and she met it on the way here. Then we have to go back. Chi Hao looked up at her and asked, Master, aren't we going back after lunch? Actually, what he wanted to ask was, wouldn't they have lunch with their future master? Although he is a child, he also feels that there seems to be some problem between the master and his father. Although they still look good, their relationship seems to be different from before. Just like eating, if the future master did not come back in the past, the master would not eat in advance, let alone go out to eat like today. Let's go shopping after dinner, Yan Xianglou said truthfully, not knowing what her young apprentice was thinking. She was actually not hiding from Zhihong, and there was no need to hide. It was just to practice the power of soul control. There were not so many people to practice with her back home. But Chi Hao didn't know, and besides, the way they got along was indeed different from the way they got along before, no wonder he thought too much about it. Chi Hao's big eyes were moving wildly. Why don't you go back after lunch? No matter how lively Yaoguang City is, it's not worth wandering around all day, right? I feel even more certain that there is a problem between master and master. Silently thinking about what to do. He is a child and does not understand the feelings between adults. Although the master is not that old, he is still 6 years older than him. A 16-year-old girl is old enough to get married. Alas, what a sorrow. We are going to eat, why are you still looking sad? Yan Xianglou finally realized that something was wrong with her little apprentice's mood. Chi Hao hesitated and whispered, Master, do you dislike Master anymore? Yan Xianglou was stunned. Master, Chi Hao patted his mouth, thinking why he said it out loud, and said quickly, Master, doesn't he like Mr. G? Only then did Yan Xianglou realize that the master Chi Hao was talking about was Zhihong. The corners of her mouth twitched. This child was quite smart, but how could he tell that she didn't like Zhihong? Why do you have such an idea? Xianxia asked curiously. Now that he had asked all the questions, Chi simply expressed his doubts. I feel that there is something different between Master and Master, Mr. G. Master is not willing to go back after he comes out. The word father on his lips was changed by Chi to Mr. G. Xianxia was stunned. There was a difference between her and Ji Zhang. This was true, but was it so obvious that even a child like Chi could see it? You are thinking too much. It's just that Master feels that you can't rely on anyone. Otherwise, what should I do if I encounter danger when he is not around? A person's biggest reliance is himself. Only when he is in his own hands can he not be afraid if he is strong enough. Any danger. Xianxia did not tell her young apprentice what happened between herself and Ji Zhang. It's not something he can explain clearly in a sentence or two. Besides, he doesn't even understand it as a child. Chi blinked when he heard this. It turns out that is the case. Indeed, the master seemed to have become more independent after returning from the Xuanhuan sect. Then he must also stand on his own feet. The master cannot always guard him. If he is in danger when the master is away, he does not expect to be able to defeat the opponent, but at least he must have the ability to save himself. Chi immediately thought about all the cards he had in his hand, and came up with several versions of what to do when he encountered danger. Soon, they arrived at the restaurant where the chef cooked delicious fish. They went upstairs, asked for a private room, and ordered 2 courses of fish, 1 of meat, and 1 of vegetables. Xianxia only ate a small part, but Chi devoured it so much that almost all 4 dishes went into his stomach. Xianxia finally noticed that Chi did not like to eat fish. Xiao loves fish so much, Xianxia decided to bring him to eat again tomorrow. Chi rubbed his belly and felt a little depressed. The fish made by my mother is delicious. Xianxia's eyes paused. This child missed his mother. She rubbed Chi head and said, I will bring you to eat tomorrow. Chi said sensibly, Master, just have 1 meal. It's okay, Master has a lot of crystal coins and spiritual stones, you can't run out of Master, Xianxia said jokingly. Chi nodded seriously, in the future, I will become a person like Master, and I will have endless crystal coins and spiritual stones to spend on Master. Xianxia nodded, well, Master is waiting for your filial piety. Xianxia felt very happy when she heard what her young apprentice said. After all, she was a young apprentice who had a fate in her previous life. She was so considerate and was no different from her own. Master, where should we go? Chi asked. Since Master said he can't go back, let's continue shopping. Master likes shopping, and as a good and considerate disciple, he must accompany me. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 549. Xianxia looked out the window and said, go to a place with many people. Throughout the morning, she used the power of soul control to see the fortunes of many people. Of course, she didn't see everyone's fortunes, but she picked out people with different levels of cultivation and status to see their fortunes. Even when she was confronting Lu Yu, she didn't forget to look at Lu Yu's luck. After all, Lu Yu's identity is also a figure within the upper class power on the mainland. People have different levels of cultivation, and different fortunes. Xianxia discovered a rule, that is, most people born into wealthy families have good fortunes. A person's destiny is not measured by a fixed factor, but the destiny brought by birth plus the destiny of what you have done in this life is the destiny of life. Just like how many people come from a wealthy family, but their cultivation talents are not high, and their cultivation level is not high. However, their wealth and marriage are very good, and they can live a happy and prosperous life, even though they do not have good talents and cultivation levels in this life. The tallest person has a long life, but he is happy. There are also some people who were born into wealthy families, but are not well received by their elders and have no family connections. However, they are extremely talented and have no shortage of resources for cultivation, so they can easily follow the path of cultivation. However, this is not absolute. There are also people who are born into wealthy families and have excellent cultivation talents but do not live long. Born in an ordinary family, the family is very poor, but some have good luck. Maybe they were in poverty when they were young, but when they encounter an opportunity, they soar into the sky, etc. But people with good luck have one thing in common: the more merit they have accumulated in previous lives, the better their luck will be in this life. Originally your luck was very good, but if you don't do good things in this life and consume your previous blessings, your luck will change and become worse and worse. Therefore, people's destiny is not static. It seems that we need to do more good deeds and accumulate more blessings in order to benefit ourselves and future generations. She has made a lot of progress in looking at people's fortunes throughout the morning. Since fortune will continue to change due to personal reasons, can it be changed artificially? In the afternoon, she wanted to see if she could change those who had bad luck. After all, the Heavenly Master sees that people still need to be strong enough to help them solve problems in the future. She can only see now and doesn't know how to help people change their destiny, and people's destiny cannot be changed at will. Not any Heavenly Master can do it. After all, if it is not done well, there will be backlash, and if it is serious, it will damage her. Your own destiny and blessings. Changing people's destiny cannot be done easily. Although she did not want to change anyone's destiny, as a Heavenly Master, she must do it. Chi Hao was startled with his eyes wide open. Why go to a crowded place? Didn't Master hate crowds of people the most before? However, he did not ask. Master is a very hard-working person and does not waste time shopping. There must be a reason. He should also take a good look at how people get along with each other, learn to distinguish between good and evil, exercise his eyesight, and accumulate some experience to prepare for when I go out to experience it alone in the future. He still has a blood feud weighing on him, but he has not forgotten it. Going out to the street again, Chi Hao walked in front, as there were many people going there. They had been shopping all morning. Chi Hao knew that there were many people there. Yan Xianglao followed Chi Hao. When she met someone who had seen Yun Dao, she would check them again to see if there were any changes. Most people's fortunes have not changed, but a few people's fortunes have changed, not for the better, but for the worse. Why did their fate become worse? Yan Xianglao stared at a person, and what he did that day appeared in front of his eyes. It turned out that he defrauded the guests of a lot of money, which changed his destiny. Yan Xianglao shook his head. This man seemed to have made money, but something big would happen to him soon. Fortunately, he only lost more money. If he was more greedy, his luck would change, and then he would lose money. It's about money. Yan Xianglao did not interfere with his destiny. Everyone has their own cause and effect and cannot interfere with other people's cause and effect. This was an idea that automatically appeared in her consciousness after she saw what this person had done. Yan Xianglao, who originally wanted to see if she could change the fate of others, gave up the idea immediately. In this case, there is no need to continue wandering. Chi Hao said, "Xiao Hao, let's go back." Chi Hao responded, "Okay, Master." The two masters and apprentices turned around and walked back. Just as they were about to reach the entrance of the alley where they lived, they saw many people gathered in front of a shop selling spiritual pets. They were shouting something inside, and it was obvious that there was some kind of dispute. Yan Xianglao didn't like to see such excitement, so she said to Chi Hao, "Xiao Hao, let's go around." As soon as she finished speaking, a large number of people came over and rushed her and Chi Hao away. A bad premonition came into her heart, Xiao Hao. She shouted and saw Chi Hao fainting. He was picked up by a man in black and ran towards the entrance of an alley. He was very fast. He was obviously better than her in cultivation. Yu Xiongluo's heart sank. Who took action against Chi Hao? Is it Chi Hao's enemy who exterminated the entire clan or Lu Yu's way of dealing with him? But there were too many people, and she had no time to catch up. Besides, even if she could catch up, she wouldn't be able to catch up if her cultivation level was not as good as others. Moreover, one of the hidden guards hiding in the dark to protect her had already chased him. She could sense it. Yan Xiongluo was extremely calm when encountering trouble. This was a habit she had developed in her 2 lifetimes. Therefore, when she discovered that Chi Hao had been kidnapped, she let Yun Tuan catch up with him. Tell Yun Tuan not to do anything, as long as you know who is doing it and for what purpose. After all, Yun Tuan is not good at fighting. Although Yun Tuan is not good at combat, it is extremely fast. This is undeniable. As soon as he received the order, a white light flashed across his face, and Yun Tuan chased in the direction where Chi Hao's captors had left. Yan Xiongluo did not chase after him, but stood still and did not move. Chi Hao's luck was excellent and there were no disasters, which meant that he was kidnapped without any risk and would not be injured. It was an opportunity for him to experience himself. Let him know the dangers of the world and be more vigilant in the future. Being able to be kidnapped so easily still shows that he has a weak sense of safety and a weak sense of prevention. People around him have bad thoughts towards him. His mental power is so strong that if he is more vigilant, he will not notice it at all. People's sixth sense is very keen. It took a while before the people blocking her dispersed, and Yan Xiongluo could clearly see the people who deliberately blocked her. I quietly looked at their fortunes. They were all dark gray with black in them. At a glance, I knew that they were not good people. They had done too many immoral things. They had evil spirits in their fates and they were bound to die. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 550. Yan Xiongluo looked at their fate and wanted to know who was instructing them. The picture that appeared in front of her eyes was of a man in black, who looked exactly like the man who kidnapped Chi Hao. Although she only saw the back at that time, the man's appearance was very clear in the fate of these people. Her beautiful almond-shaped eyes suddenly narrowed, and there was a surge of anger in her eyes. She dared to attack her apprentice. Did she think that her master was just a decoration? This is not because she intervened in other people's cause and effect, but because he took the initiative to bring it to his door. She was worried that she would not have a chance to try a way to change people's destiny, and now someone came to her door. Closing her eyes, the man's face appeared in her consciousness, and the power of soul control disappeared into the distance like an invisible sharp sword in her hand. The man who kidnapped Chi Hao felt a chill on his back and a bad premonition all over his body. However, he couldn't sense anything after careful inspection, so he continued to a yard with Chi Hao in his arms. "Girl, I've lost you." The hidden guard's voice came from the darkness, using sound transmission. Yan Xiongluo opened her eyes and said, "It's okay, I'll let Yun Tuan follow." The hidden guard choked. Doesn't this mean that they are not as good as Miss Yu's spiritual pet? Will they be disliked by their master if they go back? They have already informed Zhizhong, so you can imagine how the master feels now. Back at the rented mansion, Zhizhong, who did not see Yan Xiongluo, did not have lunch, but was practicing. After receiving the news, he immediately stood up, came out of the room, and arrived in front of the door in a flash. Chang Feng, who was guarding the door, was startled and quickly chased after him. When he reached the gate, he didn't see Zhizhong's shadow. What happened? The only person who can make the master lose his temper is Miss Yu. Has something happened to Miss Yu? Thinking that Lu Yu, who has been coveting Xianglou for a long time, is also in Yaoguang City. Especially when the hidden guards came to the news, Lu Yu also stopped the girl in the morning. Although he didn't do anything extraordinary, there is no guarantee that he will do some dirty tricks. Chang Feng immediately returned to the house and called out Music Xian and Jin Yutang, "Get ready quickly and wait for the master's order." The three of them were all a little frustrated. When had they all lived so useless, and the master had to do anything himself? Jin Yutang immediately contacted the hidden guards protecting Yu Xianglou and asked for the reason. After knowing the reason, he immediately arranged for the hidden guards to secretly search for Chi Hao's whereabouts. Although the one who had the accident was not Miss Yu, Chi Hao was Miss Yu's only apprentice and he liked her very much. If anything happened, you can imagine how girl Yu would feel. Furthermore, during this period of getting along, they all also liked Chi Hao, a child who had gone through many hardships at a young age. But he also knows that this is not their territory. Although the strength of the hidden guards has improved rapidly, it cannot be compared with what it was in Tianqian continent, and the effect may not be as good. If the usual Yaoguang city is okay, the current Yaoguang city is different. The forces are all gathered together, and strong men are everywhere. They can't make much movement, and there are many places that they can't even get close to with their strength. The three of them felt aggrieved for the first time. Ji Zhong came to the entrance of the alley and did not see Yan Xianglou, so he immediately contacted the hidden guards. Miss Yu is in the tea house. The hidden guard was very puzzled. Her disciples were all taken away, but she was still in the mood to drink tea. Ji Zhong was stunned for a moment, and then felt relieved. Luoluo could still be so calm, which meant that she knew Chi Hao would be fine. He turned to look at the tea house and saw Yan Xianglou sitting there calmly drinking tea in a conspicuous window on the first floor. Seeing him look over, he waved to him. Ji Zhong turned around and walked in, sitting down opposite her. "Are you waiting for someone?" Yan Xianglou glanced at him and put down the teacup. "Well, wait for the people who kidnapped Xiao Hao to come find me." If the person who kidnapped Chi Hao came to find her, it meant that his target was Luoluo. How could she be sure that he was coming for her? "Luoluo, are you sure that the other party is not Xiao Hao's enemy?" Ji Zhong thought for a moment and asked. "Well, the other party's target is me," Yan Xianglou said with certainty. Ji Zhong realized at this time that the clouds were no longer there, only the sky was covering her head quietly as a hairpin. "The clouds follow Xiao Hao?" "Yeah," Yan Xianglou responded. It was precisely because Yun Tuan followed Xiao Hao that she was sure that the other party's target was her and whether Xiao Hao would be in danger for a while. Ji Zhong looked at the girl in front of him who seemed to have suddenly matured. He had an indescribable feeling in his heart, as if she could live well without him. At this moment, a little boy ran in, put a piece of paper in front of her, turned around and ran away without saying a word. Yan Xianglou looked at the direction in which the little boy was running, and the figure disappeared from the sky above his head. Yan Xianglou picked up the paper and opened it and looked at it. It read, "At midnight the day after tomorrow, we will see you on the 7 miles outside the city." The signature was Chi Hao, which told her that Chi Hao was in the hands of the other party and wanted to save her apprentice, so he would go to Kilipo outside the city at midnight the day after tomorrow. A dark light flashed through Yan Xianglou's apricot eyes. The day after tomorrow is the start time of the competition. At Xianxia, all the participants have already entered the venue. The other party does not want Ji Zhong to help him. It doesn't look like Lu Yu's method, then who could it be? Ji Zhong took the note from her hand and read it, his eyes suddenly turned cold. The other party knew them well and wanted to kill two birds with one stone. "In the future, I will participate in a competition, and Luoluo will have to save his apprentice. Whether I will participate in the competition or accompany Luoluo to save people, no matter which one I choose, I have to give up the other. This is forcing myself to make a choice." Yan Xianglou's expression remained the same as before. "You don't have to worry, let alone make any choice. I can handle it. Just as Jizhong was about to say something, Yan Xianglou raised her hand to stop him, and continued, I didn't force it or take any risks. I knew what I was doing. Chi Hao would be back tomorrow night at the latest, so I didn't have to take risks. You don't have to make a choice. The other party obviously mainly wants to plot against himself, and by the way Jizhong, such a person cannot be Lu Yu at all. She already knew who the enemy was, who hated herself and Jizhong, and who could only use such clumsy and low-level methods. Moreover, Yun Tuan has just told her where Chi Hao is now. Yun Tuan is accompanying Chi Hao in the dark. Chi Hao is not in danger for the time being. After all, the other party wants to threaten her with Chi Hao, at least Chi Hao will not do it until the day after tomorrow. Something happened. It is a good opportunity to take this opportunity to practice Chi Hao. Only if you experience it yourself will you remember it forever. Yan Xianglou wanted to see if Chi Hao could deal with it calmly at critical moments and whether his clever mind could be used at this time. He has a lot of treasures to save his life. As long as he uses them properly, it is not impossible for him to escape. Hearing this, Jizhong asked, Luoluo, do you know where Xiao Hao is? Yan Xianglou nodded, I know, let him come back on his own.